Right. So you're an OpenAI developer ambassador. So what companies should know if they're interested in using OpenAI, and why OpenAI is so blooming right now in difference to like other capabilities that other big tech companies have.
Absolutely. So I'll take a moment to explain what does that mean being a developer ambassador. And I'll start with saying I am not employed by OpenAI. I am a volunteer. So I never even got a swag hoodie. But
Wow.
what I do, yep. But what I do
Right.
get in return for the time that I'm investing is access to models and to new developments that are under NDA with the purpose of doing some alpha testing, but also with the purpose of getting some training, and then later on being able to help individuals and companies who want to use that. So as a developer ambassador, there are 6 of us, and you can find a link to our Calendly or other scheduling system on the documentation page of OpenAI. So basically, once you go there, you scroll enough, you find it, and then you can always get assistance from us for free. That means you can schedule 15 minutes and just say, this is an idea that I have. Is this feasible? How should I implement this better? Or you can say something like, I had this idea, I developed it, and I hit this technical wall. Can you help me? Or maybe help me improve the prompts and so on. So this is the type of help I am offering as a developer ambassador. And this is the one of the reasons why we're getting this earlier access. And of course, this is something that is very exciting for me as well, to always have a chance of seeing things that are really in the front of technology. And
Right.
so this is to cover the initial part, the part
Yeah.
zero of the question of what is being
Yeah.
an open AI developer ambassador and how can the listeners benefit from the presence of us. So what companies should know if they want to use the tooling of OpenAI is that most tools do have an API, which is great because it means you can automate things. You don't actually have to drag and drop things into the UI of, as we were doing for a while with ChatGPT. And you should know that there's always terms and conditions, and you need to follow the safety measurements. So read what is allowed, read what is not allowed. So for example, the other day somebody was asking me, is there really no way for me to have an adult-only chat app based on OpenAI? And the answer is no. There
Yeah.
are other tooling out there. There's other companies that do this, and they will offer the service. Some things are just not possible.
Yeah, I just
And
read today about that, They changed
mm,
something in their legal. I think they're called Kimberly. I don't remember exactly the name of the chat
mm,
of the entity that he's talking to, but they changed something. It was like a companion. You could be their friend, but if you wanted
yeah.
adult only language, you need to pay them something like $69 a month or something, and they would provide you this option. And then
Mm.
there was something legal there, and they changed it. And people were so disappointed that some of the capabilities were taken from them, and the relationship with this assistant did not work as in the past. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. I did not hear about that, but I'm not surprised. This is just actually was fresh in my mind because it was an office hour question that I recently had as an example of
Mhm.
what's not. But I will say that most of the office hours are things that do follow the terms and conditions in a correct way. And some more interesting things to know is that in the past you were required to go through a production review. So before you could build your app locally and try it, but before you take it online, you must get this permission, and this is no longer a thing. But you do still need to follow the requirements. So now this is being kind of utilized. The AI is being used yet again to to monitor the traffic in general. And in case something is not following the requirements, you will be approached. And a new tool that you get as a developer using this is the moderation endpoint that you can always choose to ask this endpoint, is this okay or not? So you can still get the feedback without actually having to be delayed by the review process.
Mm.
Other important things that are good to know, I think, or generally good steps to follow when you want to develop or adopt some of the tooling of OpenAI is, follow the right steps. So identify the problem, see which of your problems can be solved in a good way by AI. Do you have good data, maybe in case it's relevant to solve that, or to make this more personalized for you? and make sure that your AI integration does stay ethical, because this is a big importance point for OpenAI in general, to make sure that AI is benefiting humanity and not the other way around.
So just for example, I have a company who's doing e-commerce, and I would like to develop a chatbot for e-commerce websites. How could I use the OpenAI capabilities with my data, because it's my stores, right? My clients, so my stores, whatever, in order to build this kind of tool. And how do you make sure that it's compliant to what is the OpenAI definitions of ethical?
So we started at the beginning of how to use your data in a relevant way. You always have an option of doing fine tuning, but many solutions actually don't require that. And that's enough to use context, which got bigger with the announcement of GPT-4. So now you have access to 8K and even 32K tokens, which is like 50 pages of a book. So usually you don't have that much context on your users, but in case you do, you have this option. So the good practice I would recommend is take whatever data you already legally and consentfully collected about your user and include that in the prompt where you're using this. So let's say you want to use, what would be our use case? Let's think about something together. You have the e-commerce and you want to use AI.
An e-commerce website, and I want to have a chat or a chat bot that would encourage people to buy as much as possible, of course, and to personalize their suggestion based on their past, what they bought in the past, whatever.
So the scenario we have, if I get this right, is basically a user is entering your website and kind of the chatbot is, so you're in the mood for buying anything specific today, and then the user says no, and then maybe ask like, can you recommend me something? And then this is where the AI would kick in.
Yeah, sure. And it will be based on my history as a client. I think it makes sense that you might have had this scenario that, I don't know, that's the first thing that comes into my mind. How do I make money? E-commerce. So that's the only, it's not because it's an important use case, just because it's like obvious.
Yeah. So in this scenario, you can write in the context information, like what are some things that the person already bought. So your prompt would be, this person has bought in the past items ABC. This is a woman in her, 20s, and she is based in this and there. And I know that her profession is this and that. And these are the newest items or the most expensive items or whatever kind of logic to you, or maybe the items in the category that I noticed she buys most. Which of those would I recommend? And then you get back recommendations of, let's say, 3 items, and then you make another iteration with the AI before you present this to the end user, where you say, so put that into the context of the conversation that we already have, and then you copy this. So how has your day been? Glad you're back. Let me recommend you some things. And then it will kind of continue this voice. And it will also not just, link, here's items you can buy 1, 2, 3, but more like, I noticed that you have bought in the past AirPods. Let me recommend you a case that can go with that. I noticed your favorite color is blue. Let me recommend you a blue case for your AirPods and things like that.
Yeah. And tell me some stories about what people actually usually ask. I just gave an example. So what would they usually ask when they come to you? Like very technical questions, or are they clueless, or do they know what to do? Yeah,
it's really the entire spectrum. I will mention that as developer ambassadors, we're 6 different individuals. So each one has different strength points. My personal strength point is actually more on the programming side. So it so happens that I get more technical questions than not. Some other are very expert in go-to-market or art and so on. So those are the type of questions I get less, because also in the page of the developer ambassador where you book this appointment, it says, what are your strength points? So this is already not representative. It's only my world of context, but I do get, we have hit the rate limit. How can we get a higher rate limit? So, the app is very popular. They're getting so many requests that they have to slow down and so on. So a quick solution in this case would be to use cache. For example, locally store some repeating questions and answers, and then you save time and money, and those API requests, because then you store the common answers locally.